war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
We, the people, tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. A man is not free unless government is limited. An informed patriotism is what we want. But still watch closely. And don't be afraid to see what you see.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it.
When in hell are all you people going to wake up?
Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report.
Well, hello, America. Welcome to Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report, the best news and information show on the web. We're broadcasting live from the studios of PRN Radio Network, the exclusive home of the Watchmen of America program, by the way. Hello, Watchmen. Today's Monday, April 20th, 4/20, and it's 8 p.m. on the East Coast. I'm Joanne Moretti, and my great co-host Scott Ferrarello is here, too, and would like to thank you for tuning in. We appreciate that very much. Our chat rooms are open for you, both at Blog Talk Radio and right here at PRN. Our wonderful colleagues, Lynn, Famous Anna, and AstroTurf, are in the chats putting all the links to our sources and docs in there, so you have them for your own records. And thank you, ladies, for that nice courtesy. We have an awesome crew of researchers, correspondents, and analysts, and they work very, very hard. Let me tell you, they have been working so hard this week. Our whole investigative team have been working on this show. Anyhow, please say hi to each other when you get in the chats. Today, we do have a very big show lined up for you. We've also invited Tori Nissen on to chronicle her latest article on the ISIS infiltration into the United States. You all know Tori Nissen. She has been a guest here before. As a matter of fact, I got my start on her show. She used to go by Snoop Chick around here. Anyhow, then we're going to be breaking our own Jade Helm investigation. I know you're all waiting for this investigation. There has been so much misinformation and bad information and good information that it's hard to figure it out. Well, we have found incredible documents that we're going to be sharing with you tonight. Anyhow, if we have time, we'll tie in the financial status of the country, too. Believe me, it all fits. Our team's been working double time to gather as many facts as possible, and we'll bring you what we found out, as well as provide all those documents and articles that I just mentioned for you to keep or share if you choose to. There's a lot to get to, so let's do our usual disclaimer, and then we can begin the show. The disclaimer goes like this. The comments made by hosts and or guest hosts or phone callers of the PRN Radio Network do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints, ideology, beliefs, or anything else of members of the Watchmen of America program or the Patriot Resistance website, either in past, present, or future broadcasts. That just tells you that anything said on this show is solely my responsibility. Anyhow, now that that's out of the way, let me open up Scott's microphone, give him a proper hello, and then we'll start the show. Welcome, Scott.
Hello, how you doing?
Oh, very good. I'm really excited tonight. I get nervous before every show, but we have just so much to get to tonight, and I'm really excited about bringing it to everybody. Plus, of course, Tori Nissen's going to be here, and she's an amazing blogger, researcher. She is an incredible writer, so I wanted to make sure that, she came on, too. Today's 4/20. It's National Marijuana Day, if anybody's interested. It's also Hitler's birthday, the anniversary of the Oklahoma bombing, the Columbine school shooting, and the Deep Horizon oil rig explosion in the Gulf of Mexico. Actually, it was our articles in the Gulf oil spill and all the details surrounding it that brought me, our crew, and our today's guests together. We all came together with that, so, that's one thing that did come out of it was our whole crew came together. Boston Marathon was run today. Caroline Rotich from Kenya ran 2:24:55. My cousin didn't win the women's. There were 30,000 runners. I'm not sure what position she came in, but she's probably like second. Also in the men's, a guy named Liliza Desisa. He's from Kenya also. He ran 2 hours, 9 minutes, 17 seconds. And the wheelchair winner was Marcel Eric Hug from Switzerland. Let's see, before Tori gets here, we have some breaking news. There was just an explosion at the Spanish embassy in Tripoli in Libya. The Spaniards had already been gone out of there, but this was a car bomb out front. The details are just coming in, so I didn't know if anybody had heard about that. Also, Benjamin Netanyahu and Rivlin, they're refusing to meet with Jimmy Carter. They just have nothing to say to him that's anything nice, I'm sure.
I wonder why.
Yeah, they don't want any part of him.
Well, he did put the mullahs in Iran. That could have something to do with it.
Yeah, well, his whole thing is coming to fruition right now. Maybe now's not a good time for him to be showing his face around. Well, at least wait until after
And he's a big Hamas supporter. So I'm sure they wouldn't want to meet with a big Hamas supporter,
This is true. That's actually true. Hey, we have U.S. warships headed to Yemen. The USS Theodore Roosevelt is steaming towards the waters off Yemen to beef up security and join other American ships that are prepared to intercept any Iranian vessels carrying weapons to the Houthi rebels that are fighting in Yemen. Well, how are we having this negotiations over Iran's nuclear capabilities, but we're sending Navy aircraft carriers? Now, the Roosevelt isn't traveling by itself. They have a whole group, a carrier group that goes with them. So it's not just one ship. As a matter of fact, there's a bunch of ships over there. Now, the Houthis, aren't they being supplied by the Iranians? I know the Al-Qaeda, those ones are supplied by the Arabs, but the Houthis are supplied by the Iranians. Anyhow, Navy officials said today that the Roosevelt was moving through the Arabian Sea. The U.S. Navy's been beefing up its presence in the Gulf of Aden and the southern Arabian Sea amid reports that a convoy of about 8 Iranian ships is headed towards Yemen and possibly carrying arms for the Houthis. So here they are delivering weapons to take over Yemen, which Obama said was a success story. I'm not sure if he actually knows the meaning of success story. Or, even worse, maybe he does know the meaning. And for him, this is a success. We better figure that part out.
Whatever's the opposite of what's good for America, that's what he's for. I mean, it's pretty evident after almost 7 years.
Yeah, well,
right?
The Houthis, yeah, exactly. Yemen was a success. He said that we had won Iraq. Now we've lost Iraq. Can you imagine what Dempsey said, speaking of Iraq? He said, well, if Ramallah falls, then it's not really a big deal. It's not like a loss. Are you kidding me? Do you know how many American lives we lost there to try to take that city? And now it's not a big deal. So what the hell? What were we there for then if it's not a big deal?
My guess would be to rape and steal the artifacts And
yeah, well, can you imagine being the parent of one of the soldiers that was lost in Ramallah? And now to hear that it wasn't a big deal? What do you mean it wasn't a big deal? My kid died over it. I can imagine what they're saying. Anyhow, speaking of Iran, you know, that Iran deal that he's working on, let me tell you something. If you look up the word treaty, the word deal is used as a synonym. I don't know what our Congress thinks they're doing, but they are definitely capitulating to the White House over this Iran deal, which is actually a treaty, and they're trying to screw us like it's not a treaty at all when it is a treaty. Any agreement between two sovereign nations is a treaty, and it has to be ratified by Congress, but our geniuses up there in Congress said, well, you know, we at least want to look at it for 30 days before you move on it. You want to look at it for 30 days? No, dear. You are supposed to not only look at it, but completely deconstruct it and know every dotted I and crossed T in the agreement. And then you have to sign off on it, agree to it as a treaty, and it has to be ratified by 2/3 of the Senate. That's what we do with treaties. They're telling us that our Constitution is outdated, so what, we just ignore it? You know, they didn't even bury it.
For a very long time now.
Yeah, well, this is absolute
nothing.
insanity. You know, they are, with this Iran deal now, they have decided that, okay, we will lift those sanctions. Do you know that that's a $50 billion signing bonus for Iran? Plus, we've already given them $11 billion.
I thought it was 30, but yeah, it'll end up being, you know, more.
Yeah, well, the Wall Street Journal says a cash release of $30 to $50 billion upon reaching a final nuclear agreement would come in addition to the more than $11 billion in unfrozen assets that Iran will already have received under an interim nuclear accord reached in 2013. We had a nuclear accord reached in 2013. That was 2 years ago, guys. I thought this was all new. So I guess we were. And then Marie Hoff said sanction relief to Iran will continue through June 30th. So they're going to try to get as much money as possible to the Iranians. They said under the framework agreement, Iran would also be permitted to store around 1,000 advanced nuclear centrifuges at an underground fortified one-time military site known as Fordo. All right, Fordo is the one that's in the mountain. They didn't even want to tell us about that one. It was the Israelis who actually found it. Now, 1,000 of those advanced nuclear centrifuges, those are like 60,000 of the old-fashioned ones. They're 60 times stronger and more rapid. And then our girl Hillary, you all know Hillary, right? Running for president. Boy, she's in a world of trouble. Peter Schweitzer's book is coming out. That's what Rand Paul has been alluding to about all the information that's coming out on Hillary. I got to tell you something about Peter Schweitzer. I know of him. As a matter of fact, he was working with Breitbart when we were doing the investigations on Occupy. I was sending Breitbart a whole bunch of stuff. As a matter of fact, I talked to Breitbart the day before he died. I still have his cell phone number here in my book. I saw it when I was looking up Tori's number. Anyhow, Breitbart had hooked me up with Winton Hall, who was working with Peter Schweitzer on the Occupy movement, and we had found all the connections with Zuccotti Park and with Bloomberg's girlfriend and the company she was working for and the wind farms and all that. No wonder they donated Zuccotti Park to the cause. That was part of a deal, and believe me, Brookfield Associates was handsomely rewarded for it. Matter of fact, they got a whole bunch of millions for their Granite Wind project up in New Hampshire. Anyhow, Hillary has some donors that have been contributing to the Clinton Foundation, and they, through third party, have continued to do business with Iran right along. Remember we talked about that. If the United States doesn't drop the sanctions and Obama gets the rest of the countries in the UN to drop the sanctions, we're going to be the only ones standing there. And all these corrupt politicians, they'll just go around the sanctions. They'll use third parties. Well, Hillary's already doing it. The fourth richest man in the Ukraine, his name is Pinchuk. He owns Interpipe Group. That's a Cyprus-incorporated manufacturer of seamless pipes. Newsweek has seen declarations and documents from Ukraine that show a series of shipments from Interpipe to Iran in 2011 and 2012, including railway parts and products commonly used in the oil and gas sectors. A number of high-value invoices for products related to rail or oil and gas. One shipment was $1.8 million, and that was in May 2012. It was for seamless hot work steel pipes for pipelines and destined for a city near the Caspian Sea. Both the rail and the oil gas sectors are sanctioned by the U.S., which specifically prohibits any single invoice to the Iranian petrochemical industry worth more than $1 million. So maybe this is one of the reasons why Obama's trying to normalize relations with these terrorists to give Hillary cover for her run for president, because the boss in this company, Victor Pinchuk, he has been giving all kinds of money to the Clinton Foundation. Can you imagine that? So here she is, the Secretary of State, doing business with Iran. Go ahead.
It used to be illegal to take any foreign contributions, to even accept a gift. You weren't even supposed to accept a gift from anybody on your birthday. And now they openly, accept millions and billions of dollars from every Muslim country, every foreign country known to man. They get in there, they get hundreds of $1,000s worth of free gifts, but there's no accountability, so why worry about it?
I know, but they're not supposed to be doing business. And here's the Secretary of State. She knows it. It's not like a surprise to her. These people get away with so much.
Yeah, they get away with everything. They get away with murder. And then that's why things like emails don't matter. They just sit there and laugh at stuff like that. Because what they're doing is, they can just commit felony after felony and it's nothing. This is why people like John Corzine can steal billions of dollars from MF Global right out of customer accounts, and he gets nothing. Matter of fact, he's opening up a new hedge fund, and somebody like Martha Stewart has a $10,000 error, and she goes to prison.
I know.
It's rules, different rules for different people.
What's he owe?
Right.
$4 million in taxes? But that other chick he worked with.
I thought he only owned $1.3 million. But there's there's a couple of Republican donors. They owe $3 billion. All right, think about that. If you owed $3,000, it would be mafia interest rates, compounded daily, and if you didn't pay it, you go to jail. They put Al Capone into jail over a couple of million, and some people can own up to $3 billion and they do nothing. It's all who you know and what circles you run with. It's crony socialism.
Well, I tell you, it's getting to the point now where if you owe the IRS a nickel, they'll attach your property, they'll attach your tax check. But even, I think maybe the IRS is sexist and discriminatory because that woman, Perry Harris there from MSNBC, the one that you put the tampons in her ears, she and her husband.
Yeah, I don't know. Harris something.
Yeah, Harris Perry is her last name. Or Perry Harris. Anyhow, Melissa is her first name. She and her husband owe $70,000. But Al Sharpton works at the same network. He doesn't even get aggravated. But, this chick is they're all over her.
Well, that chick isn't Obama's race pimp czar. He's the one, traveling to Ferguson, stirring up the hornet's nest. Setting back race relations 50 years. That's an important job.
Yeah.
keep dividing people. Can't have us come together on anything.
I know, really. I'm waiting for Tori to call in. I'm not sure which area code she'll be calling from. There is somebody on the board. Tori, if that's you, press 1. So I know that you're ready. All right, nobody pressed 1, so that's
what
not
area?
her yet.
8?
Yeah, no, that's not her. She's going to be calling from 310, I believe. Oh, 424. All right, she's calling now. Never mind. I just got a message from her. All right, anyhow, our guest, Tori Nissen, is going to be here in a second. And you all know her by Snoop Chick. She was the host of the show that invited me on for the first time after our crew had written the Gulf oil spill articles, and we had chased down all kinds of information. We exposed the core exit, who made it, what it was made out of, how poisonous it was, what it did. You know, people called us crazy. We even got threats, violent threats about it. I had somebody from Core Exit call me, the Core Exit company, and try to tell me that it was no more dangerous than Dawn dish detergent. Now we're seeing all this sludge that's on the bottom of the ocean. We are seeing all the dead and, maligned fish. Some of these fish have serious, birth defects and stuff from the little fish. The shellfish is not even edible. And today's the anniversary of that spill. I saw an article from David Shestokas saying that the payments are, the time thing is going to lapse for anybody who wants to get paid for damages, too. So if you have any claims out there, you might want to check on it. Anyhow, I see that Tori is here now, so without any further ado, I'm going to open up her microphone. She's going to come on and she's going to tell us about this article that she had written, and it involves ISIS and other terrorist groups that are infiltrating into this country, and then it's going to lead us into our Jade Helm investigation.
Nice.
So stick around for that. Vicki, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good evening. And I'm gonna talk fast because I'm still in the office, and I was just told that our internet's going down between 5:30 and 6, and it's 5:23. And my phone is on the internet. We have Vonage, so I don't know what's going to happen. But can I talk about it, because there are a few things that aren't in the article that I wanted to make people aware of. First of all, good evening. Sorry to be talking so quickly, and I will join if I can at 6 again. But it's about open borders, and it really bothers me. Our borders here are open. I'm in California, so it's not that far away. Doug Giles, who's a reporter, had photos of people crossing our southern border just in the last few weeks, and you know what? They were all men. Mm-hmm. All men, and you could see some drugs and some guns with them. I wrote about Judicial Watch. It's a very, very, as you know, they have integrity. Their reporting is excellent. So they said that ISIS is operating a camp just 8 miles from El Paso. Of course, the Department of Homeland Security denied it. However, Mexican intelligence sources said no. They had actually found a camp with prayer rugs, documents in Arabic and Urdu, and plans for the U.S.'s Army Fort Bliss military installation, which is actually located in El Paso. So and El Paso is home to over 30,000 active duty soldiers. And of course, our soldiers on bases, thanks to Bill Clinton, don't carry guns. Right. So this whole thing is very, very scary to me, and I'm going to continue writing about it. I've asked our congressmen, we have all Democrats here, for the most part, to have a town hall about immigration. I've been calling them every day for a week. They always seem surprised. Of course, they're in D.C., but they always seem surprised as to why are you asking this, And so I think it really, really needs to be brought up. Here's what I wanted to mention, and I'm looking into it further. There was something in this reporting that I picked up, which was they're outside of El Paso, and they see El Paso as a port of entry to the United States, and on the other side of El Paso is Santa Teresa, New Mexico. It's a U.S. port of entry for them. And they say that spotters have seen or located, ISIS has spotters located in the mountains of New Mexico, largely managed by the BLM. We all know about them. Mm-hmm. And that they're conducting renaissance of regional universities and the White Sands Missile Base. Now, that red flag to me, the White Sands Missile Range, and this is what I want to mention. Hopefully I don't get cut off. ACAL Security. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it. ACAL Security is located in New Mexico, in Espanola, New Mexico. Years ago, when the Oklahoma bombing occurred, they actually had named a new security company, TEG, T-E-G.
Mm-hmm.
That security company had the security for the Murray building.
Wow.
So, and I spoke to one of the owners of this place. They're American Sikhs. It's called Sikh Dharma, S-I-K-H Dharma, D-H-A-R-M-A Brotherhood. And it's a nonprofit organization, but they run a very profitable ACAL Security. Now, they had TEG Security handled the Murray building, and when I was talking to one of the women there, she laughed as she told me that they got to the guard didn't get there until 9 o'clock, and by that time it was too late, or whenever his shift was going to be. But she was laughing, and I have never, ever forgotten it. You know what? They also handle the security for the White Sands Missile Range.
Oh, my God.
They handle the security for all of the U.S. Marshal offices, the federal courthouses.
Oh.
The Reagan building in D.C.
And that's
they're American Sikhs. They're hippies. I think the CEO's real name is Dan Cohen. And now I don't have it here with me. I think I have it at home. But the men have a name like Gurajev and then Singh Khalsa, S-I-N-G-H, and then Khalsa. And the women are all like Shanti Kaur Khalsa, C-A-U-R Khalsa. She's a hippie too. And they're, in fact, Shanti is the one that told me about the TEG organization. So my point is, I'm wondering if they are involved in any way in this, because they also had security at Fort Hood.
Oh my God!
Now I'm not saying they're doing anything, Joanne, but when I saw White Sands Missile Range, that was a huge, huge red flag to me.
Yeah, well,
and I never knew what happened.
We had talked about some of the security companies doing our other investigation, and the Sikhs had come up with it. You had been looking at them then.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So now
they're
they've been
American
Oklahoma,
hippies.
White Sands, the U.S. Marshals, the Reagan building, and they laughed when you brought up the Murrah building?
She did. Well, I didn't bring it up. She told me about it because I didn't know. I'm putting this all together later on, but at the time she had mentioned that was one of their security companies. It was TEG, T-E-G. They formed it before the Murray bombing, and guess what? They disbanded it afterwards.
Wow.
The only way I knew more about it was on those discussions on New Republic. You know how you follow those threads sometimes? And I followed threads of people that had brought it up and were also curious like I was.
Yeah.
But
now, White Sands, that's the one in New Mexico, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
So why my whole point after reading all this is, why does ISIS, of all places to enter, want to come into New Mexico?
Yeah, that sounds like a setup going on here. Maybe not.
Well, unless they know they know they can get away with it.
Yeah, well, obviously they're not the greatest security company. If they, were there for the Oklahoma, they didn't secure it very well, did they?
No. So I'm not saying that they did anything wrong. I'm just saying it's very curious coincidence.
Yeah.
They're not very nice people. So they're American hippies that joined. It's a Sikh organization, but they're not real Sikhs because they're vegetarians and they have yoga and they teach yoga. That was how they originally made money, by teaching yoga. Real Sikhs are meat eaters and they don't practice yoga. I mean, it's a huge difference, and real Sikhs are pissed.
I bet. I bet. Well, with a guy named Dan Cohen, that doesn't sound very Central
I think his
Asian
name
to me.
now is I think his name now is Gurajev Singh Khalsa.
Yeah, so he's a convert.
I was working on these over the weekend, so I probably have it at home. Gurutej Khalsa, Gurutej Singh Khalsa, and then there's Daya S. Khalsa, Dayas Khalsa. I think he's the president.
Okay, I'm writing all this down as you're talking.
Yeah, they're all Americans. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, they get all these discounts and tax breaks if they are a minority group. So, of course, the Sikhs are definitely a minority, and usually they're very gentle, calm people. But what kind of security shows up after everybody's already at work?
So that's what I'm wondering. What was the deal?
Yeah, well, that exploded at 9:05. So the security guy was it was either 5 minutes late or why wouldn't they be there before everybody else was already in the building? You would figure the security people would be there at 7 to, check everything out and then let the employees in. That's interesting.
And the other thing I was going to look into, and of course work interferes with all my research, but one of the things I was going to look into is, I thought that in normal buildings there was 24-hour security with a building that size. Why would you not secure it? Somebody's calling me. Why would you not secure it in a building that size 24/7? So does that mean
especially a federal building,
people can just walk in? Yeah, exactly. So I want to look into that. I haven't. Like, why would you wait until 9 o'clock? Don't federal employees come in earlier?
Right. Yeah, they do have a 7 to 3 shift, so they're in there without security from 7 to 9. That's not very good security.
Yeah, there's something really wrong. And in the New Republic thread, what was brought up was, why organize a company for just a short period of time and then disband it?
That's true. Well,
why
remember,
not
that's
just go in there as a call
too.
security? Right. Why not just go in there as a call security? AKAL.
That's true. Yeah.
So there's a lot of this I'd like to look into. I really want to know why they're going into New Mexico.
Yeah. Well, the White Sands would be a big draw there. Remember, they want to get rid of our military. Every time one of them has a sudden attack of jihad syndrome, they're going after our soldiers and going after our National Guard. So that would make sense.
And a call also had security at Fort Hood.
And at Fort
now, I don't know
Hood,
to what extent. So, and the other thing that really bothers me is that our good friend Erdogan, who helped Obama with Benghazi, now is providing Turkish passports to anybody that wants one, so that ISIS can travel wherever they want.
I just saw an article of Obama and Erdogan teaming up to open up some Turkish Islamic centers in the United States.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, my God. No, I'm dead serious. I just saw that go by me just before we came on air, that him and Erdogan are partnering up to open up some Islamic centers, the Turkish-American Islamic centers.
Oh, my God.
That's very suspicious, too. Oh, my God, you're full of information tonight, Tori.
Oh, wow. That's very, very scary, because Erdogan, loves the caliphate as well. I mean, they're partners. They're best friends.
There's really nothing you can do in your own government is helping the enemy infiltrate your country. There's nothing you can do about it.
No, but what people are disgusted about is the fact that Congress isn't saying anything, and they can.
Well, they're part of it. They're part of the government. They're not going to do anything. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And this stuff couldn't have taken place unless all the markers were in place, too. What's going on now had to be set up years ago for everything to be in place for them to have it available to them to pull this off.
Decades ago.
Wow, Tori. All right, is there anything else you want to bring up before you have to take off and come back?
No, I guess we still have our internet up.
Oh, good.
I have my laptop open, so that's good. No, anything you want to ask or mention or add to it?
I wanted to elaborate a little on your article.
Okay.
You said here, Judicial Watch, a conservative, nonpartisan watchdog group, says ISIS is operating the camp. And then I saw on TV that they are not confirming that there is a camp, according to the U.S. government, but the Mexican government saying yes. And I'll tell you what,
yes.
I support Judicial Watch. I would believe them before I'd believe any government entity. Those people are doing yeoman's work over there.
Right.
And you're right here, to the east of El Paso and Ciudad Juarez, cartel-backed coyotes are also smuggling ISIS terrorists through the porous border between Ocala and Fort Hancock, Texas.
Right.
And these specific areas were targeted for exploitation by ISIS because of their understaffed municipal and county police forces and the relative safe havens. Yeah, we've been talking about that on the border. They aren't even afraid now. What they do is they come across the border and then go right to the Border Patrol office and turn themselves in. That way they don't have to try to sneak in and walk around the rest of the country or anything. Once they get to that Border Patrol office, they're home free. And as you said,
how would they know they're safe havens though? Unchecked safe havens unless somebody told them.
Yeah, they told them, or they're casing it, or they have their own surveillance going on. I'm sure if we have cameras all over the place, that ISIS has cameras all over the place. They're very smart. Now, we were told that the border is wide open. Even the Pinal County Sheriff, what's his name there? The nice-looking guy there. Anyhow, he's the Pinal County Sheriff. He said, if you are thinking that border is secure, you must be listening to the people in D.C. because that's a lie.
Right.
That boat, that's his name. He, it says here that Homeland Security denies the ISIS camp, the camp near Ciudad Juarez, was uncovered during a joint operation of the Mexican army. So everybody's lying except Obama, right?
Right. And his Muslim groups, Yeah, you're also right. An intelligence official from Egypt said that his country delivered a report to the U.S. documenting the claims, too. And Turkey allows free passage to Iraq. And you know that Turkey's running all those underground tunnels and the border crossings where they're buying all that hijacked Iraqi oil from ISIS, too. They're getting it at like $4 a barrel. Wow.
When
we are so screwed.
30.
Yeah, we are so screwed. And even the media's helping. I don't watch 60 Minutes, but I heard that they had that one of the segments they covered last night was how horrible Assad is. And to me, because he's gassing people, and I thought that was a false flag. And
it was.
I think that was an Obama-supported piece because Obama and Erdogan want Assad out. Once Assad is out, then ISIS can take Syria.
Right.
So 60 Minutes is helping him. I mean, I don't know what to do. That's why I'm trying to get some kind of a town hall with my congressman, and I think everybody should try getting a town hall with their congressman so we can actually sort all this out.
Yeah, well, the only thing blocking ISIS from taking over Syria right now is Putin. The United States isn't doing anything.
No.
The United States is arming all sides here. They're arming the Sunnis. They're arming the Shiites. They're not arming the Kurds. That's the ones that they should be arming. The Christians are being slaughtered left and right over there. Another 30 of them were just killed in Libya on the shoreline.
They are so despicable, and yet churches don't even speak out.
Well, pretty soon there isn't going to be any Christians in the Mideast.
And the Pope barely does either. He's too busy pushing global warming and whatever the UN and the globalists want.
Right.
Yeah, well, somebody better start sticking up for the Christians. We keep treating Muslims like they're a minority when they're not. There's 8 billion of them in the world. And like you said, they're not coming. They're already here. You saw the Somalis that were arrested, a couple in San Diego and a couple in Minneapolis yesterday, right?
Right.
Well, they are doing peer-to-peer recruitment for ISIS. They are going into the schools and into the mosques and into the Job Corps and all of those places, and they're converting other Somalis. 7 plane loads of Somalis landed in Massachusetts, And they set up they seeded a whole community up there in Springfield, Massachusetts, right on the Spring-Lynn line. And another 9 plane loads landed in Memphis, Tennessee. So they're setting up tribal regions for these Somalis. And they're not doing any type of background checks, any type of vetting of these alleged refugees. We're just flying them in. They're not Christians either. It's the Christians who are being slaughtered over there in Africa, but we're flying in Muslims. Does that make sense to anybody?
And nobody is doing anything. That's what just gets me. And Memphis, that's interesting. You know, I had a client who was from Memphis. It's a long story, but let's just say there was a Memphis judge, an immigration judge, that was appointed in 2010 by Eric Holder. And I think she was put into place because her job was talking to these illegals as they, came through the border last year. So I would bet that if you look at all of those judges that were appointed in 2010, it's probably a good map of where they're going to dump a lot of these people.
Oh, absolutely. Well, up in Minneapolis...
I'm going to check that myself, yeah.
Up in Minneapolis, that's Minnesota, so that's not even where the biggest Islamic group is, up in Dearborn and Flint, Michigan. But we had read an article last week how our government was seeding these communities, and they were not supposed to assimilate. There's so much money in it, and so much money flowing that they even, if these Somalis send their kid to school, the kid goes to school with an interpreter, paid for by the taxpayers.
This is just unbelievable. How is this happening? And
we took our eye off the ball. We just thought we hired people that would handle this for us, and we've been absentee bosses for a very long time. This has been going on under our noses, as well as a whole bunch of other things. They are so far ahead of us. We're just now finding out this information while this takeover is in its end game. And I called it a takeover on purpose.
If it wasn't for the Internet, we'd still be halfway in the dark.
Right, absolutely. Well, what do you think of Jade Helm?
Jade Helm.
I think it's a test to get us more used to the military presence.
Oh, I think it's a lot more than that. I think what is happening, if you look at the Jade Helm areas, right now it's on the southern Sun Belt, from California over to New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Arkansas. They skipped Louisiana, by the way. I'm not sure why. And we also know of one Walmart closing in Florida, in Brandon. Now, we looked at a lot of these stores that are closing. Most of them are on railway lines, including the one in Brandon that's not part of this, but it's being refurbished. The one in Brandon is on the Tropicana rail lines. Now, Jade, Jade means Joint Assistant for Deployment and Execution. And Helm means, let's see here, I got it over here.
Homeland.
Homeland Eradication of Local Militants. Okay, so put it together. Joint Assistant for Deployment and Execution. That means they're deploying these people and they're executing a plan. And Homeland Eradication of Local Militants. So militants could fall under any type of category, whether it's these ISIS or whether it's American Patriots. They don't really specify that. And then they have what's called swarm.
They do in the DHS manuals and everywhere.
Oh, right.
It's militia, it's Tea Partiers, it's patriots, it's gun owners, Christians.
Oh, yeah. Well, it says here, there was one sheriff who was asked about what was going on with Jade Helm. His response was, you have a lot of people who are coming out of the military that have the ability and knowledge to build IEDs and to defeat law enforcement techniques. This guy's name is Sergeant Dan Downing of the Morgan County Sheriff's Department. And he told that to the local Fox affiliate. So he told you the idea of who this is against. A lot of people who are coming out of the military that have the ability and knowledge to build IEDs. That tells you that they're going after our veterans. And, of course, like Scott just said, patriots, people like you and I. So they, like I said, Joint Assistant for Deployment and Execution. And HELM is Homeland Eradication of Local Militants. They have another acronym here. It's called FORMAT. That's Force Management and Analysis Tool. And that supports case-based force deployment planning and development by BBN. So that's what it's for here. Now, let's see. War gear has been flowing to the police departments now for a long time. People have been complaining about it. You know, you see these MRAPs and you see all these orders by DHS for magazines and armor-piercing bullets and all that, and everybody was getting nervous about that. Well, you know what? They should be nervous. They should be nervous because that wasn't something that they just pulled out of their rear end. What they are doing is they have been putting assets in strategic places, and they've been trying to do it under the cover of helping out the police departments. That's not true. What they are doing is putting assets in place. And they did it right in front of everybody. And, you know, they just get them used to it. Like Scott just said, out in California, last week, they had National Guard doing traffic control out in San Diego. People have all kinds of pictures of that. Now, this from the New York Times says, during the Obama administration, according to Pentagon data, police departments have received tens of thousands of machine guns, nearly 200,000 ammunition magazines, thousands of pieces of camouflage and night vision equipment, and hundreds of silencers, armored cars, and aircraft. The equipment has been added to the armories of police departments that already look and act like military units. Police SWAT teams are now deployed tens of thousands times each year, increasingly for routine jobs. You know, like they raided a barber shop, and the only thing that the barber shop was charged with was barbering without a license. It says when the military's mine-resistant trucks began arriving in large numbers last year, Nina, which is a place, and places like it were plunged into the middle of a debate over whether the post-9/11 era had obscured the lines between soldier and police officer. Let me stop right there because that's absolutely what's going on. Posse Comitatus says that the U.S. military cannot operate on U.S. soil against the citizens. However, with all this equipment, they are now training the local and state police departments and the National Guard to use all this equipment that they've put in place.
Right.
So they aren't really a military, but they are going through military training right now. Now, you know that there's a war going on the other side of the border. It broke out the other day when the Mexican government arrested a couple of the top cartel leaders in two different cartels, Zetas and I believe Sinaloas. So it erupted in Reynosa and Tamaulipas. Some of that spilled over into Brownsville, although they're not telling you that. And the local Brownsville police are on high alert. I know that there's a lot of American patriots down there who are on alert too. So that, you know, if it was something like an invasion. Now, you know, you just mentioned the videos of the people coming across the border. Yes, they were all men. There were no women in those groups, and they were young men too. They were all military-age men.
Right.
So now you got an influx of military-age men coming across that border. You have people streaming out of there because of the war. You know these people are all the cartel members, or at least a lot of them are cartel members, or fleeing the cartel members. But where are the women and children? Why just men? Something big is going on over there. And they're just coming across the border. Nobody's stopping them. If you saw all the videos of that. You know, so, I mean, it's hard to tell if it's really the patriots they're going after, the veterans, or if, you know, these immigrants are part of it. I should stop calling them immigrants because they're invading the country. If you enter a country unlawfully, then that's illegal, and it's a crime.
What are I'm kind of curious. What are ex-military like Paul Vallely doing? Because they, out of anybody, have the power to do something, or to start the ball rolling.
I haven't heard a word out of him or any of these other patriot generals lately. I haven't heard him say anything about J-Down. That's kind of curious, isn't it?
Yeah, well, maybe they're still doing the research or whatever. I don't know. I'm not making excuses for them. Everybody should know by now what the hell is going on, especially the generals and the military and stuff. What I'm saying is it's a way around posse comitatus. Let's talk about the Walmarts for a minute. All right, the Walmart stores that were suddenly closed for plumbing issues have not sought permits. There's 2,000 people out of work for 6 months. All right, up in Tampa, it says the Brandon, Florida employees of Walmart that abruptly closed Monday were among more than 2,000 employees nationwide who learned almost simultaneously they were being laid off. All of a sudden, out of the clear blue, Walmart tells 2,000 employees, you're out of here by 5 p.m., don't come to work tomorrow. You figure maybe a 2-week notice would have been nice, especially if this is something that's been planned. And then they haven't even sought permits for plumbing. As a matter of fact, the mayor up there in Brandon offered to help them out with getting permits and everything else and still had no response. The stores are all
I went to Walmart today. I went to the one in Pico Rivera just to take a look at it because I tell you, I couldn't work. I was so scared about what's going on, and it definitely was. The windows had black plastic. I did walk into that pharmacy, and they had shelves up, but there was still. I got the impression the shelves were up to prevent consumers from going into the store or stealing stuff, because there was still merchandise on all the shelves, and there was still that recording, telling shoppers what to buy, that you have in stores going on. So it was, you would never know it was closed except from the outside. So I went across to, I had lunch at Wendy's. It's a hamburger place here, and I asked the manager, so what, why did it close? And he told me that for the last couple of weeks, the employees have refused to work. They went on strike. Nobody was showing up for work. So Walmart just said, okay, screw it, then we're closing it. And yesterday and the day before, there were some employees there that were throwing gas bombs or something into the store, or trying to, and that's why the cops were there. And he said when he came to his place of work today, there was trash all over the mall, lot. So I don't know. I mean, I believed him. I figured, people that are in the mall would know what was going on. Right. So, but why close 5? I know that I think it was Florida also had labor problems. But who, I don't know.
Well, that's a good fact.
It's 5 at once.
And you're right. It's been the Soros groups that have been pushing Walmart for that $15 an hour thing. Walmart raised their entrance wage to $10 an hour, and that wasn't good enough for them. And yeah, they've been having labor disputes. So yeah, that could be part of the reason. But also, for 5 stores, and they said, their offices were unaware of any prior plumbing issues. And it was one of the busiest days of the year for that Liberty Tax Service that was in the Midland, Texas one. When the woman who was running it said that a Walmart district manager told her to vacate the kiosk her company rents at that location and have everything, her computers and everything, out of there by 5 p.m. She said there were suits everywhere. Yeah, the manager said she worked inside the store since 2012. And used the restroom daily, and has never seen a plumber working in the store or witnessed any plumbing problems. And like I said, no plumbing or contractors were hired to do any plumbing work, so something's going on there.
It wasn't about plumbing. Yeah, I know. Well, what are we going to do about this? What's the solution? My only thing right now is to get I'd like to get a town hall going with my congressman.
Yeah.
Look on that. But, I'm calling every day. Yeah,
well, let me give you a little history on Walmart. And this is really important because, Walmart's a big company and they're global. In 1987, the company installed the largest private satellite communication system in the U.S., linking the company's operation 1987.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Now, in 1988, the first Walmart Supercenter opened in Washington, Missouri. And that was combining general merchandise and a full-scale supermarket. A guy named David Glass was the CEO. In 91, through a joint venture with Cifra, a Mexican retail company, Walmart went global. All right, so now from 87 to 91, they started with their satellite system. Now, we've talked about these secret satellites being launched. I just found out that Walmart was one of them, part of the Teledesic OIC Iridium launches that are building the new Internet we've talked about. Remember Internet 2? Well, Walmart's satellite is part of that. All right, so then in 92, while receiving the Medal of Freedom, Sam Walton articulated the company's mission of saving people money. And it says Rob Walton became the chairman of the board. Now, Rob Walton is one of the sons of Sam Walton. He was a loser, deadbeat jet setter, he and his other brother. They had a younger sister, Baby Girl Walton. I think she calls herself Samantha now, but her name all growing up was Baby Girl Walton. She was in school when the old man died. She continued school, and when she got out of school, she bought out the brothers' controlling shares, although they were still employed by Walmart. All right, in 94, Walmart expanded into Canada with the purchase of 122 Woolco stores. And then in 96, Walmart opened its first stores in China. All right, now, look at Walmart's structure of their buildings. There is no windows in those buildings. They are built with cinder block and rebar. The only weak point would be at the roof, but it's still framed in. So those would be a hell of a fortress. They have the loading docks. Most of them are on railways, but not all of them. So that can't be a factor, but it might fit in somewhere. This work that's being done now, these stores that are closed, they were built between 92 and 94. The stores that were built after 94 are not closed at this time. But somehow, maybe something they added in 94. I can't find it. The only thing I can find in 94 was Walmart expanded into Canada. But from 92 to 94 was when those stores were opened, and now they're being, whatever is being done to them. Now, we found a video. It was sent to us. And I'm going to play you a little bit of this video. It's just a short video, so don't anybody's eyes glaze over. All right, try to stay with us. And this might explain a little bit of what is going on with the Walmart. This man is an expert. His name is William Mount, and he worked with national security. Check out what this dude has to say.
Dr. William Mount, and it's April 2015 for Channel 77 in Seattle. People ask me why Walmarts are closing. The answer is simple. When I took an Army logistics class, the U.S. Army developed a logistics system for Walmart. Walmarts were strategically set up around the world to act as military distribution bases. So if we have problems in Yemen, the Special Forces takes over the Walmart in Yemen. You can order a helicopter and nuclear weapons on the Walmart logistics system. There's a back door into it. They taught me that. If you are going to have Operation Jade Helm throughout the Southwest, you seize a Walmart. You can order things such as M16 rounds. You can order an M16 to the Walmart program. So they walk into a Walmart, fire 2,200 people in California. You're all laid off. Go away. No unemployment. Get out of here. Because the military then takes over their base. The specific logistics program I was trained on in California is the same program they use at Walmart. The Walmarts are federal military posts. How many Walmarts they have, they get extra money from the government. And when the government takes over, they get a fortune from the government. Those products are redistributed to other Walmarts. In addition, the American dollar is no longer being accepted in a lot of countries. Walmart can't get products. Nobody will exchange the American dollar for the toys that we're getting at Walmart. Sorry, it's the way it is. The end game is here. Folks, if you get laid off from Walmart and Home Depot, they're similar to colleges that are federal repositories like Humboldt State University, where they have underground battalion headquarters, Evergreen State College in Washington. Thousands of colleges have pre-prepared military bases underneath them. The Walmarts and the Home Depots are the same way. So if you're working for Home Depot and you get laid off, go to another one. But that's likely to get laid off. Because as poodly hits the fan, this is what is in our Department of Defense manuals, to seize the Home Depots and to seize the Walmarts and use their logistics program to order our weapons to kill us.
All right, I stopped it there. I don't know if you all heard it very well. I hope you did. But he's telling you that they have a deal with the federal government, the Walmarts do. Now, I'm thinking we should pay attention to this because, like I said, look at the structure. They are fortresses. Every single thing you need to sustain you is in a Walmart. Everything from camping gear to food to water to weapons are in there. Even cooking
automotive repair,
microwaves. They have generators, and Home Depots too, same thing. Generators, chainsaws, things like that. So that would make sense that they would be taking it over. As a matter of fact, as he just said about Yemen, do you know that our soldiers had taken over a Walmart in Yemen?
I never heard that. I Googled it, couldn't find anything. What did you find?
Well, I found that when they were getting out of there and the Houthis were at the door, some of our not military, but our embassy families and stuff were all at a Walmart holding until they could get out of there. So, you know, they were all scattered around the place, and they all met at the Walmart, and the places are fortresses, so that would make sense. So now, you might want to pay attention to this. I'm seeing this as a learning experiment because if the chips hit the fan, okay, they'll hit the fan in the cities first. There's Walmarts on the outskirts of the cities, too. Might not be a bad idea for American patriots to go and take over one of those Walmarts before the military gets there. You know, and you're not going to starve to death. You stop the looting. You know, I know people will loot and stuff, but that's not going to happen if patriots take it over. They take control of it. They make sure that everybody gets fed and everybody gets what they need and blankets and pillows and whatever else you need at a Walmart. You know, it makes sense for the government to do that. Now, with that satellite system I told you they have and how it's involved with the government program, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and a couple of the other Viacoms and a couple of other the big communications companies were all in on this system from Teledesic. Then they changed it to OIC, and now it's Iridium Company. All right, back to Walmart. The Waltons are selling off their shares. They just sold 6%, which was 85 billion shares the other day. And they said that given the prospect that Walmart may continue to buy back shares, the Walton family has informed Walmart that it currently expects to sell Walmart shares from time to time to offset possible increases in its ownership percentage. So Walmart wants out. Something's going on that family wants out of that business. Selling your shares is a good indicator that something big is coming up. Now, other recent exercises, like I said, and was caught on tape, was the National Guard troops were patrolling a California city, and they conducted a New Jersey Homeland Response drill. Also, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago in Fort Lauderdale, they were doing exercises around the seaports. And out in Los Angeles, remember all the helicopters and all the training that was going on there? It was, 7 months ago out in L.A.? Then
a couple of weeks ago, they were in San Bernardino in Ontario. They were on the streets. That was actually on the news, which surprised me. The regular news. So.
Yeah, well, they were all up in Boston too. Now there's another operation going on. It's Operation Northern Exposure. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but Northern Exposure. Let me get my notes here.
Yeah, it's in Michigan. Yeah.
Right.
It's in Michiganistan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's an operation to control detainees, to secure military bases. There's multiple branches of the U.S. military up there, including Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and 82nd Airborne. They're also involved in Jade Helm. Shoot. I'm looking for my Northern Exposure stuff. I got it mixed in with my other papers here.
The thing is they probably won out of those Walmarts because the military's basically taking them over now. And, they're not going back. So who knows? If it starts to spread, they might just take them all over. So when they are ready to take down this country, they do it one state. They do it like a 6-month operation overseas where they take over a small country. Except in our case, it's a state. They treat a state like it's just a small country.
All right, I have I have the northern exposure thing. It's the description is the contractor will provide subject matter experts to assist military and government service personnel in the planning, coordination, development, writing, synchronization, and execution of a live, virtual, and constructive exercise designed to prepare key leaders, units, and staff headquarter elements to perform their civil support and chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear response enterprise mission. So that's what's going on up there and with the Michigan National Guard. They're conducting what's called northern exposure. Now, there's a whole bunch of nuclear power plants up there in that area of operation. So this isn't just Jade Helm. There's other ones. And then up in Canada, they got Operation Maple Resolve that just took over 133 Target stores, too. Again, all of them are built like fortresses. So I remember when the old Walmarts were built back in the early days, they had windows, and they used to put the paperwork in the window with all the sales that were going on and stuff. And then they started redoing them and rebuilding them. And now they are fortresses. So it would make sense for the United States to take over these Walmarts, Home Depots, Targets. If you look at the design of the stores, and they all have like 200,000 square feet or 300,000 square feet. So that would make a pretty good barracks.
Let's not forget, recently, both Home Depot and Walmart became Sharia-friendly.
Right.
That's probably not a coincidence.
Yeah, well, what I'm still confused about is the why and who. And I mean, even though that this sheriff said that the military coming back has the IED experience and that's why they need these MRAPs and stuff, I'm not believing that. But, why would Obama be opening our borders? And if enough of them aren't coming across the border, he's taken to flying them in. He's going around our courts and our laws and calling them refugees now. I could see maybe even from war-torn areas. But what about El Salvador and Honduras and, all the Central American companies? No war going on down there. There's more of a war going on in Chicago right now than there is down there. Why are we naming them refugees? And why, instead of flying these illegals out to meet up with their families, we're offering to fly these families into the United States to meet up with their illegal relatives? Something very, very big is going on. We have all these documents that guy just said about the Walmarts. We know the Waltons are selling their shares. We know that other exercises are going on and have been going on. We know that these assets have been put in place. If they need an MRAP, say down here in Charlotte County in Florida, we got an MRAP down here. This is God's waiting room. I don't expect a whole bunch of little old ladies and little old gents in their walkers to be uprising anytime soon. But, if they do, we're ready for it. But now we know why. They couldn't just all show up with all this military equipment and hand it over to the cops all at once. So they've been doing it a piece at a time. So they're hiding in plain sight. And now the Walmart stores, and we know it's only 5, but those are 5 key Walmart stores. Those are strategically placed, and they fit exactly where this Jade Helm exercise is going on. So they're practicing on how to take those stores over.
Tracks. Forget.
Right. Now, I know they don't have any underground facilities at the one in Brandon. You dig down 6 feet in Florida, you're going to hit water. So I seriously doubt that there's any type of underground activity at this one. But that doesn't mean out in the desert and out in New Mexico and Arizona and California, that they might be able to under there. I don't really know the details, so I'm not going to swear to any of that. But there is something very, very big going on, and we have all the details here. We got all the documents, and I'm sure that our colleague put those documents that we were talking about into the chat rooms already, so everybody can see them. Something very big is up, and we're being invaded.
It looks like Jade Helm started today in Canada, and it would be interesting to follow that and see how that works. It's with a lot of troops.
133 Target stores.
What is that?
In Canada. Doing the same thing with Walmart, except with 133 Target stores.
Oh, my God. Are they closing them?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
133 Target stores, and they're all built. If you've ever seen a Target, they're built the same way as Walmart is. They're fortresses. They have the block walls with the rebar going through it. They're all steel framed. If you see it when it's being built, they start with a steel frame. Even the roof has steel slats. And then they put the walls in with the concrete and rebar, the cinder block concrete and rebar.
Well, that was interesting because I looked up these stores and who is giving what to the government. And Walmart, I think, was first. Home Depot was second, which that guy mentions Home Depot. And Target was third.
Right.
And you can see, if you look at the revenues that they give to the government, or donations, it's really skyrocketed or gone way up since 2008.
Right. Plus they aid in disaster relief, and plus the guy said that when the government does take over these stores, they get a huge bonus for allowing it. So the stores are not losing any money; they're making money on it.
So
and they're
in
working
Canada,
hand in hand. And then add the satellite system, the private satellite system, and they don't even have to go through our internet system.
Right. Well, the satellite system is also for point-of-sale purchases, too. You know, that, so it sort of takes away from having landlines.
Right.
So, but so Target stores are closed in Canada, and Canada starts today, Operation Maple Resolve. That's their Jade Helm?
Yes, Maple Resolve.
Oh, that'll be interesting to follow.
And like the guy said, too, with that satellite system, if the dollar crashes, your dollar's not going to be any good. The only one that's going to have the ability to exchange it for other currencies would be Walmart through their satellite system. They'll still take it, but they won't take the dollars. And they also communicate with each of the stores. They're global. They're in China, and they're in Israel, and they're in Mexico, and they're in Canada. They're everywhere. So they're operating as an arm of the government. And that has been going on since '87. Now, Jade Helm actually started in 1961. Johnson signed it. Johnson signed it. So imagine that. That was his idea.
Well, and all this ties together with one thing: the WalMarts, the Jade Helm, the illegal invasion, the flying in refugees. It all fits into the creation of a North American Union instead of North America. Just like General Petraeus just said, about 6 months ago, what comes after America? North American Union. Right. And it's to get them all operating on the same page, so it's just one big unhappy family. And there's nowhere to run. Where are you going to go? Oh, you're in America. Don't want to go to Vietnam? Well, you run to Canada. Well, not anymore. You're not going to be able to run anywhere.
I think you're right there, Scott, because on this Jade Helm document, Jade Helm, what is it? It says disarmament stages. It says the program provides for progressive disarmament steps to take place in 3 stages and for the simultaneous strengthening of international institutions. The first stage contains measures which would significantly reduce the capability of a nation to wage aggressive war. Implementation of this stage would mean that the nuclear threat would be reduced. It says all states would have adhered to a treaty effectively prohibiting the testing of nuclear weapons. It goes on, it says strategic delivery vehicles would be reduced, arms and armed forces would be reduced, and it says here that many Walmart closings in Jade Helm states are a sign that they will be used in an event. So I'm telling you, folks, pay attention to what's going on here. And Scott may be right. This might be pulling us together in a North American union, and this is part of it. Disarmament of the world is actually the progressive goal. We've already known that. That's the UN's goal. The UN is involved in this. The UN has an interest in this, and they are very much keeping an eye on it. So, I don't know. And then, we're hearing all this stuff about China making its move to be the dominant currency, and we're hearing about the dollar's going to crash, and that would cause riots and bank runs and things like that. So, having military strategically placed in all these neighborhoods and all these Walmarts, and they are fortresses, that would all fit, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and America is the last, Second Amendment pro-gun place there really is. Everywhere else, they've taken them away using false flag attacks, and it's worked. It's worked on every country except for ours, including Canada, Australia, Scotland, you name it. False flag terror has worked every one, and now they couldn't pull it off this time, so they're going to have to do it by force, which is where the helm comes in.
Oh, that's kind of scary. And if you think of Canada for a second, they are disarmed up there. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier for the military to swoop in and control everybody in Canada than it is down here. Before coming on the air, I was looking at some facts and figures, and it says for every 90 people in the United States, there's 100 guns. So they got their job cut out for them if they think they're going to be disarming the Americans. And I'm wondering about our military that's involved in this. See, what they're doing is they are having a cooperation. It's a PSYOP as well, because the military, you don't want them to go against the police. You don't want the police standing there fighting the military on behalf of the people. So if they buddy up the military with the police departments and law enforcement, then they will work jointly together. Now, do we know if they will turn against the people, or they will work in tandem against the people? Oh, maybe they'll defend the people.
It's going to be messy no matter what happens. Yeah.
They've always got Plan B. If our military won't do it, guess what? They have enough refugees and illegal invaders that'll take a job, and if that doesn't work, they've been training Spetsnaz, Russian troops, and Chinese troops in our country. They got UN troops. I mean, these people think 3 steps ahead of everybody else. So if something doesn't work, they have Plan B. Just like if we would have somehow stopped this open border thing and stopped this illegal immigration, they would have just, renamed them refugees. Problem solved.
Right. And, none of them have a loyalty to the United States. That's why they are insisting that, they open up the military to illegals, and they're calling them undocumented, and they're doing DACA and all these other things to benefit illegals, even against federal judge's restraining order. They found a way around it. They just changed the name and back in business as usual. We also see where people are getting laid off, but before they go, they're training their replacement who are illegals. We saw the things that were saying how more illegal men are employed in the United States right now than male citizens. So, nobody has a loyalty to the United States, and they're not being told to assimilate because assimilation is not the goal. They don't want them to assimilate. They want to assimilate us.
I worry about our military, because he's going to put them in harm's way as much as possible, because everyone that doesn't come back is one less one that they're going to have to deal with later.
Yeah, and you saw that they're afraid that the military coming back has the knowledge to make IEDs. So obviously right there they're declaring our veterans as the enemy. At least that sheriff did. Now, this Jade Helm thing, is it to invade us or is it against an invasion? I don't see it being against an invasion when the invasion is being perpetrated by our own government.
Right. Yeah, if they wanted to stop the invasion, they'd be at the border.
Right.
They wouldn't be taking over Wally World.
Yeah, and if you notice where all these exercises are being held are around the perimeter. Northern exposure is the Great Lakes region. You've already seen the exercises going on in Boston, New York, New Jersey, Fort Lauderdale. Now you got the whole Gulf region and part of California, but they had exercises out there in Oregon and Seattle. They had them in San Diego and Los Angeles. So that's the entire outside of the country. They are securing the perimeter. So that could be a protection against invasion, or it could be to keep us all in. Notice nobody's
to protect us, I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm a little
concerned.
concerned.
Those days are gone.
After seeing all of this, and seeing the invasion, and seeing the financial stuff, and seeing the Walmart stuff, and hearing about all these exercises, something very, very, very big is going on. And this might not be the big one, but this certainly is practicing for it, isn't it?
Right. And you don't try to disarm your citizens while you're bringing in countless numbers of potentially dangerous foreigners. These people aren't vetted. They don't know if last week they were working for ISIS. They're just a refugee. You know, there's no vetting at all. There's no background checks. I mean, some old lady trying to buy a pea shooter to protect herself goes through a more strenuous background check than one of these people from Syria or these other countries.
Right, and that even brings into our investigation that we did last week on this show with the Job Corps. All right, we told everybody about that kid out there who was trying to blow up the National Guard. His name was Muhammad Abdullah Hassan, also known as John T. Booker. He come out of Flint Hills Job Corps. I told you all about the personal encounter I had with a young man up in D.C. who was converted by an imam at his Job Corps. These Somali guys, they are young guys. They're in their 20s, too. So they're doing peer-to-peer indoctrination. And they're all going to these Islamic centers. All right, this one here from the Islamic Center in Topeka, that's Booker's imam. His name is Imam Omar Hazim. And he wrote in 87, 4 Muslim families and a couple of single brothers got together and met in various places, clubhouse, community centers, and individual homes to have Sunday classes for children to learn the Quran and adults to read and discuss the Holy Quran and offer Salat al-Zuhr together. Anyhow, this article goes on how it says they started to have Jummah in various places around the city, and in 92, the Islamic Center was incorporated as a non-profit, tax-exempt religious organization. In the same year, 92, an unused, dilapidated one-story structure was located at 1115 to 17 Southeast 27th Street. The fundraising was started with 60 days. They were trying to raise $60,000. All right, so it goes on, and it says they opened for worship about 6 weeks after its purchase. And then it says, by Allah's blessing and guidance, we saw a consistent growth in numbers. 2 years later, in 94, a few brothers visited our Friday prayer service from another country, stated that they were inspired by the work they observed, and asked what they could do to help. We met with them in the office, and they left a donation of $5,000 cash and said for us to look for some more money soon. 3 weeks later, we received a check made out to the Islamic Center of Topeka for $100,000. These brothers were not known in the community before and have not been seen in the community since. Who are those brothers? And that's this boy, Booker, the one who tried to blow things up. That's his imam. the article goes on how this kid Booker said that he liked to get in debates with other people, and he said that the kid was kind of nutty. He said that people would know that. But here's another thing that caught my eye. He said that the imam stopped giving Booker rides to the center and work, but Booker continued to attend prayers and activities at the center. Why was an imam giving this kid rides to work? This mentally disabled kid who converted to Islam and is now turned into a jihadi. And that's what brought me back to the other kid, Bradley, who I met in D.C. He was a troubled kid. He had heard voices. He had mental issues. He was in and out of nut houses. And he was a bad kid. So they sent him to Job Corps. And in Job Corps, all of a sudden, he starts being a nice kid, and he starts paying attention, and he's, his family's happy that he's found structure. And, this kid had originally been a follower of the KKK and of Hitler. He moved on from that and moved to Islam now. Wouldn't he be the perfect patsy? And they could say, he was mentally ill and it was a lone wolf attack if this kid ever does anything. When, no, it's not a lone wolf attack. It's very much the opposite. They are taking these kids, they are converting them, especially the ones with mental issues, because they can always fall back on that. When they're looking for somebody to lay the blame on, they just say, he was a nut, it was a lone wolf, and we're peaceful. No, they're not. This invasion is getting really, really bad, and it's being perpetrated by our government. I'm wondering if these brothers weren't from our own government that the imam talks about. Now, these imams, they are not only just working at Job Corps, but other youth programs, even AmeriCorps. Now, remember we talked about Eric Holder was recruiting the illegals, the unaccompanied minors, into AmeriCorps. And if you look around, there's all kinds of imams teaching the kids there. Like I said, something big is happening. And I don't know if Jade Helm is to come after us for resisting this transformation or if it's to help us. I'm not thinking it's to help us, not with all the way that the information is going.
No, not when you read the DHS manual of who the bad guys are. I mean, all you got to do is read it, they don't even hide it. They talk about veterans, gun owners, Tea Partiers, right-wingers, patriots, anybody who talks about the Constitution, basically all the good people in the country.
Yeah, well, they try to stiff us out of it.
Everybody else is a protected class.
They tried to stiff us out of our Constitution. They try to schmooze us and convince us that it was an old document and, it was passé and behind the times. Well, now they got sick of trying to force us. They tried with all their gun control. They tried with the, using every incident, even made up some incidents, to try to take our guns away from us. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. Do not give up your guns. Do not give up that Bill of Rights. Don't give up any of it. Don't give up your free speech. Don't give up your Second Amendment. Don't give up any of your, including the Fifth Amendment. Don't give that up either. Just make sure that you pay attention to what's going on around you. Make sure that you pay attention to these exercises. Everything they are teaching each other, you learn too. Okay? Because what they're doing is laying out their playbook. You might as well steal it. You might as well, if they're offering free training, you might as well take it, right?
Well, and then, you have a media that won't even report on any of it, which is just sad.
Yeah, well, the media is also another...
If known liars like Brian Williams don't tell the public something, they don't think it's true.
Yeah. Tori, you still with us?
Yes. I'm just listening to the conversation and reading the chats. But do you think
going on in the chats? I have been talking too much to even look over there. Thank God we have our crew.
Well, the other thing is with open borders, it doesn't have to, this Jade Helm or what's coming in the next couple of years, doesn't have to be about us. It could be opening the borders and letting the jihadis in. and storing them in Walmarts or warehouses or wherever they're going to put them. Remember the communities within a community plan.
I mentioned that too to Joanne earlier, because think, if they have these railroads that come right out of Mexico, they go by all those super centers.
Right.
And there's already been independent people that have posted photographs on their Facebook pages of cop cars with the windows blacked out. Now, why would you need your windows blacked out in a police car unless you wanted, people not to see who you are bringing to those to those Walmarts?
Right.
I mean, there's just too many weird things, and
right.
Even when you ask somebody from Walmart to elaborate on this fake plumbing story, they won't talk about it. Like it's all of a sudden the manager at Walmart's a part of national security. It's a plumbing problem, right? I mean, if that's all it is, how about letting a reporter in there and seeing how it's coming along?
Not only that, but wouldn't your employees know that they've had plumbing problems right along? And five stores, all of a sudden, they all have bad plumbing?
I've worked for both companies. I've worked for Walmart and Home Depot. And let me tell you what, they wouldn't care if every toilet in the bathroom blew up at the same time. They wouldn't shut that store down. They'd put some yellow tape around the area, and there'd be a sign that would say, "Sorry for the inconvenience."
Right.
It's just ridiculous. People will believe.
Yeah, and the other reason I mentioned, I still have my internet. I can't believe it. An hour later.
Good.
The other reason is he's putting Muslims throughout our government. In every facet, he's putting Muslims in, even like you said, the Job Corps. So that makes me think, and if he's combining or putting up stores with Erdogan, he's taking it even further. And so I really believe that the end result is to have Muslims rule the country, which is, I don't know which is scarier.
Right. It's exactly what they're doing. And I was suspicious of this when I saw movies and photos of Michael Bloomberg going to mosques and Chris Christie taking photographs, with the guys.
Common Core.
Everybody all of a sudden kissing up to these people. And I was going, what is going on here? Why are they all of a sudden, like royalty here? What do they know that I don't?
More examples. The future does not belong to those who would slander the Prophet of Islam.
Right.
National Hajj Day.
Make a speech like that at the United Nations, and nobody says anything about it. And even on Fox News, you ask Bill Riley, well, you think he's a Muslim? You think he likes Muslims? Oh, that's ridiculous. Show me proof, he says. And nobody goes, okay, roll that UN tape one more time.
Right. Or how about in 2007 when he told the New York Times that the most beautiful, that was a big red flag to me, the most beautiful sound on earth is the Muslim prayers at sunset. In 2007, and I said, really? It's not babies crying, babies talking, it's not the ocean, it's the Muslim prayers, really? That alone would tell you where he's coming from.
He probably doesn't even probably doesn't believe in God, period, like Hitler.
Right.
He just uses whatever religion at the time
because
that's what he's told to do.
And he speaks perfect Arabic.
There he does. Also, he appointed Muhammad Al-Libieri to the DHS. Nancy Pelosi appointed Andre Carson to the Congressional Intelligence Committee. Keith Ellison has been taking money and trips and all kinds of stuff, compliments of all these various Islamic centers.
Look at Dick Durbin. Durbin. He's been getting money from foreign Middle Eastern countries forever. He's just a senator from Illinois.
Well, look at the Clintons, the Arab donors, the Saudis, the Qataris.
And that's all illegal, by the way.
Iranians.
Remember when we were a nation of laws?
Yeah, well, she doesn't even care about that.
In the 80s?
She was Secretary of State when she's taken money from the Saudis and the Qataris and all these other Muslim countries, Oman, Bahrain, all of these Muslim moguls, oil moguls, and royalty, all donating to her while she's Secretary of State, and then she loses her emails. Deleted them.
It's all a part of the big plan. They did it to Europe, did it to France. That's the multiculturalism. It doesn't work. They came out and said themselves after they did exactly what we're doing now. Just brought them in by the boatloads. I mean, there was a bunch of quote unquote refugees going into Italy last week, and the Muslim ones tossed all the Christian ones off the boat. Let the sharks eat them.
Christians are being slaughtered all around the world, especially in countries where there are predominant Muslims. Jews aren't faring much better either, but the Christians, we were a Christian nation until Obama declared we weren't. He's been wearing that ring, there is no God but Allah, long before he got married. That's not a wedding band. That's a testament.
Right. And that's all just to cheese us off because he knows that nothing will happen about it. And there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, in the first year he was in office, that Christmas, he was hanging a Chairman Mao Christmas ornament from the tree. Think about that one for a minute. Hey. I mean, these are hardcore communists, like Governor Cuomo that came out and said that he was a big Chairman Mao fan.
Also, every one of these countries that he is working with, all these dictators. Look at Iran. When they tried to have that revolution, he did nothing for the people of Iran to free themselves from the mullahs, from the Ayatollah. And now everything he's doing is benefiting the mullahs and the Ayatollahs. Look at Cuba. Cuba was a communist country. Instead of freeing and liberating those people, what does he do? He normalizes relationship with the dictator. The dictator said they're not going to change communism there. The same with Venezuela and Chavez down there. Even up in the Ukraine. The Ukraine, he overthrew, with the help of Soros's Renaissance Foundation, he overthrew the elected government in Crimea, in Ukraine, and then put in this puppet government who were all members of Soros's Orange Revolution, and now they're complaining that Putin has a problem with it. Well, Putin didn't overthrow the government. Obama and Soros did, with the help of USAID. So
now, I got to say, I'm no fan of Putin, but he has shown some remarkable restraint. They've been trying to push him into World War III now for quite a while, and he just knows exactly what to do, just enough to upset them, but not enough to get them to start, shooting missiles. But pretty soon that's going to stop, and he is going to punch NATO in the mouth so hard that all of us are going to feel it.
Yeah, well, this guy, he's just awful friendly with all these communists and dictators and communist dictators and Muslim dictators who act like communist dictators. And nothing is being done to liberate people. We had won Iraq and we had won Afghanistan. Those people were enjoying freedoms. Now they're back under the burqa and scared to death, and they're being overtaken by all these different groups, these Muslim groups. And he's not helping anybody. Hey, we have a phone caller. Scott, will you screen this call? 317.
What area code?
317.
What area? Okay.
All right. Anyhow, we've been screening calls because sometimes we get people who like to hear themselves swear on air. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we figure we'll screen it, make sure it's somebody legit who really wants to talk, and then we'll let them on. So anyhow, Tori, anything you can add to this? Because, like I said, something very big is going on, and every bit of this fits. The Job Corps, the infiltration, the indoctrination, this caliphate, these exercises.
Yeah. Well, there's always stuff going on with this guy. It could just be, the Alinsky method of scaring us to death. on and on and on, so that by the time they're ready to take over, we just don't care anymore. We're apathetic. One thing, I was talking to somebody the other day about this. We know for sure that the liberals are not going to let conservatives take over in 2016. Why would they? Why would they give everything up to a Republican candidate that they've been fighting for? So something's going to come down over the next couple of years or year and a half. But I'd like to know what we all can do about it. Nobody else is going to do anything. We have to do it, and I think it starts with our grassroots. That's why I'm, if I can just have a town hall, then we can publicize it and have more town halls and things like that. We have to do something rather than just sit around and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because politicians aren't going to do anything. Everybody was counting on the Republicans when they're elected. They've done nothing, absolutely nothing. They've made it worse. And so it's really up to us.
Yeah. Scott, you wanted to say something?
That's my only thought.
Yeah, we got a caller who just wanted to add something about Jade Helm.
Okay, well, let's open up this microphone and see who this caller is. Caller 317, you're live.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ladies. This Jade Helm, I don't know when this was supposed to take part, but here in the Midwest, I've noticed for about the last month, usually right after dark and before dawn, and I got neighbors who live on the backside of this little small, it used to be like a small airport for like little pipers and stuff, but it's been extended about a year ago, and it's now part of what they call a regional airport. Well, they've had these ospreys, what the Marine Corps has, look like land. It can land like a helicopter, but takes off like an airplane.
Okay.
They've been having 2 or 3 of these land, like, before dawn, and they're in and out within 10, 12 minutes, and they do it again late at night. And I've seen military convoys come up the back county road, and I know there's troops because there's a security guard at the back gate letting them in and out.
What state are you in?
I don't know if that's part of Jade Helm, Indiana.
Oh, that's not.
I don't know if this is part of Jade Helm or what it is, ladies. I didn't even know the Air Force had those airplanes. I thought that was just Marine Corps only.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, but that's good information.
And I've got a neighbor who lives on the backside. She's taking, video cameras. And I told her, I said, don't you stick your head out there where they see you. You're devil or something. I mean, just do it quietly. So the other question I have, we was talking about the Muslims, lady, and I love your show, by the way.
Thank you.
The Muslims. Do you recall the whole Serbia-Herzegovina incident back in the 80s?
I
They
do.
said, it's the Russians. It's the Russians. Ladies, there wasn't a Russian one there. It was all Muslims. They were raping women, killing old men, beating old women, and kicking babies in the street, letting them freeze. They were burning homes. There wasn't no Russians there, and there was nobody else. It was just the Muslims going amok.
Well, they try to tell us the Boston bombers were Russians, and they were not. They were Muslims, too.
Yeah.
So, that's a very good point.
So that was the 2 things I wanted. One, I know, I've seen, like I said, of Serbia. I was there. The other thing is the Osprey troop transporter, like the Marine Corps had, but these were clearly marked with Air Force markings. And that's what kind of threw me off. And I'm like, I didn't even know the Air Force had those. I thought that was an all Marine Corps thing, but I guess it's not. But to have them come before dawn, in and out within 12 minutes, and then late at night they'll come and drop in and out in 12 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds like some sort of practice.
Do you live near an airport or any kind of a military base, or what do you live near that they would want access to?
Well, ma'am, there's some National Guard units down south. There's a big Air Force base way up north, but they wouldn't do this out this little regional airport out in Podunk nowhere. But that's where I live. I live out in the middle of nowhere, Podunk nowhere.
Unless they're dropping people off.
Oh, they're dropping somebody or something. Now, one time I did see some troops come off. At first, I thought it was Marines, but the Marines don't wear the khaki gray and light gray. That was Army. And these guys wasn't the way they were moving and handling their stuff, they wasn't your Joe Schmuck infantry guy out of whatever. These guys were well organized. They were in and out, and those things were back up in the air within 12 minutes from the time they appeared over the airport. In and out, 12 minutes, they were gone.
Maybe they're dropping off Muslims.
Maybe they're practicing landing and lifting off in short order too. You know how they do the touchdowns? They call it touch and goes or something.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but why would they have to do it at night?
They're landing. They're going down. They're turning. The first time I've seen them do it, because I heard it. I was on my way to work, and it was kind of daylight, and I looked, and I could see the troops getting off, going into this little hangar, and on the backside, as I come up the backside of the airport, there was a guard there, and I come up over the rise, and there was a Humvee in the front with the armored turret. Then there was 1, 2, 3 of those new Army trucks that just has 2 axles, and they had trailers behind them. Then there was a Humvee behind him. And I just put my head down, but I did kind of glance up and look. They was Army uniforms. They were not Marine Corps uniforms or Air Force uniforms.
All right, I have 2 questions for you. Are you seeing any big mounds of dirt appearing anywhere? Do you ever see, when they have a construction site, they have these big piles of dirt and they line them up all nice and neat? They look like little pyramids of dirt.
Yeah, like a big dozer has been pushing and dumping. Yeah, I've noticed that on the backside, way down in the middle of nowhere, where it's way beyond the airport. But I didn't think nothing. I thought maybe they were just pushing dirt out there because they're going to expand the airport or something. I never thought anything of that.
What are you thinking, Joanne?
I'm thinking that they're digging some bunkers and tunnels because they got all these troops in and they're going into those hangars, but they're not coming out. They're not moving them around the area. They're doing touch and goes with the aircraft, so they're dropping off these crews. And if you're seeing mounds of dirt, then I'm thinking maybe they're building underground bunkers or underground military bases or things there. That would fit. Nobody's moving around. They're coming in and going out by air, and now you see mountains of dirt appearing. That's a big dig.
One other question, because you ladies would know this. These dots I keep seeing on these mailboxes, what are that? I see mine's marked with red.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw something about that.
We don't say that. Don't say that.
Those dots on the mailbox, right, they're for, if you got a red one, you're basically going to be shot. And if you have another color one, no, I'm serious. And if you have another color one, red, or yellow or something, that means you're going to go along to get along, and you're really not a patriot or a, constitutionalist or anything like that.
Wow.
So
I'm totally
green, yellow,
serious.
And I had heard something about the dots on the mailboxes, but I didn't.
I've
talked to anybody that ever had one.
Right.
I thought
it
could have just been a myth. But you actually have one of these dots on your mailbox?
Yeah, and a lot of people live around me. Some of them are Vietnam vets and different people, and they're all Second Amendment happy people. They like to go out and shoot whatever they shoot.
Oh boy!
And they're all marked with red. There's only one up the road from me that's marked with a blue. Whatever blue.
What does blue mean, Scott?
Blue means you're okay. That means you're probably a liberal, probably a communist, probably pro-big government, probably voted for Obama twice.
Yeah, they got Obama stickers in the car. I do know that.
Some of them, the yellow ones, I think.
I'd make them put them all back on again just so I can see.
Your FEMA cap.
I wonder if they know if I can get the same kind of sticker, if I can change it.
I would do that for you. I'd get a blue sticker.
Right.
Get a red, white, and blue. Use the shit out of them.
Caller, my name is Joanne Moretti, and I go by that on Facebook. If you can get a photograph of the dot, if you can get a photograph of the touch and go or those mountains of dirt, could you get that to me, please, over at Facebook?
Joanne,
and that way we can investigate it.
The only thing, Joanne, I asked, because it's a friend of mine that lives on the next road that lives right up against the airport. I know she's going to win, because she didn't want to say nothing. She brought it to me and says, Mike, you're old Army. Tell me what it is. And I looked at them like, so that's what I've been hearing. So I go over and sit, and there they are. They're coming right down. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, well, friend me over at Facebook, and then you can talk to me privately, and I'll tell you how we can communicate without sending messages, okay?
That's very serious. That's very serious.
Spell your last name, Joanne, so I can get it correct, please.
Moretti. Moretti. It rhymes with spaghetti. Moretti. But yeah, get in touch with me over at Facebook and friend me, and I'll friend you back, and then we can talk a private message, and then I'll teach you how to message me without sending an email.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for calling in, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Boy, that makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
Yeah, it does.
Because I, too, had heard of it, but I've never talked with anybody that actually had the dots.
Yeah, I had heard about it too,
sense.
but I didn't take it seriously. I just kind of let it pass by me. But I'm glad Scott caught the meanings of it, and now you know. As soon as I get off the air, I'll be finding out what that's all about.
Well, it could have several different meanings, and it could be some harmless meanings as well. But that's been the rumor for the last 3-4 years.
Right.
Yeah, I remember it being brought up, but I didn't know of actually anybody that had them. But
and people landing at night at a local airport, that alone would creep me out.
Yeah, so that's
I've heard of that as well. I've heard of that happening at other small airports as well.
And what would be the purpose of that? I mean, are they dropping people off, or?
I don't know. I don't know what the purpose is of it. But
yeah, well, there could be some training going on. There could be some work going on. You know, the reason I mentioned the dirt was because I had heard of another operation like that, touch and go, and then all of a sudden these mounds of dirt started appearing. And people were just, you know, taking it like it was farmland, and there were mounds of dirt on there, and they had dirt dropped off. They were going to, you know, put crops in and stuff. As it turned out, they were building underground bunkers and tunnels and stuff.
Wow. Yeah, we've got to do something on the grassroots level. There's a congressman here who was elected. He's a Republican, believe it or not, because he worked smart. And he's, I think, having a meeting either this week or next week, which I'm going to. I don't know if it's a web meeting or an in-person meeting, but his purpose is to let people know what works, how to get out there and actually do something and make a difference. And that's what people here are looking for. People are looking for, what can I do to change this on the local level?
Yeah, well, I'm disheartened about this political field because all of this stuff has been going on since 1961. We have congressmen and senators in there for decades. There is absolutely no way that they are not part of it.
Right. Yeah, and maybe they've been given a place they can move to. You know? Like Switzerland.
Well, where are these candidates screaming at the top of their lungs about the NDAA and all this stuff, all the really important stuff? You know, they don't exist, and they all know what's going on.
I'm glad you brought that up, NDAA. Also, remember Obama's executive order for preparedness that he signed, and he takes over everything with that executive order. And we all wondered what that was about. And they just blew it off like, no, it's just, you know, so in case there's a natural disaster, we already have the authority in place to handle it and get the assets out there. That sounded good. But now when you have all of this going on, that executive order might carry a little more meaning than we actually originally had thought.
And the other thing is the candidates are all talking about what they're going to do after they're elected. I don't think there's going to be an election. I mean, they're not going to, and if there is, they're not going to let a Republican get elected. There's no way. Or if he or she is elected, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking that we got a lot of going through these Congress people to start sorting them out. No election is going to fix this. Not if this is, I mean, like I said, we got documents from 1961. It's 2015.
Right.
So they have been working on this all this time. These people like McCain and like Feinstein and Pelosi and Reid and all of them, they've been around for decades. So you can't say that they don't know what's going on. They have to be part of it. We don't need a third party. We need a second party. They're all on the same team.
Right.
All right. We got to wrap this up. Tori, you have any closing comments for our guests?
No, only that I'd like to hear from people as to what they're going to do on a grassroots level. We only have ourselves. We don't have anybody else to depend upon.
Well, I agree with you there. I think that we better start being preppers. If you're not already,
right.
I think we should be shoring up our assets and our capabilities. I think that we should pay attention to every single thing that they are doing in these exercises, and we should make notes and we should write it down, and we should be doing the exact same training. Even right down to the weapons they're using. Get those same kind of weapons, because if somebody drops one, you have it. Or if you don't have any bullets and they do, you can go get them. So I think that we should be paying close attention. If they're training everybody else, we might as well take advantage of that training too.
Yeah, and there has to be local, state, and federal politicians that are on our side. And I think the key is to recognize them and then get together and work with them to do something about this.
True, but we got to find them first. And,
right.
yeah, I'm sure that they're not all nefarious, you know. I'm not even sure that half of them even know what's going on around them. The old-timers
right.
do. But,
right.
you know, these young people, they're not going to tell them all this stuff. They're not going to give them the big picture. And, you know, we are being represented by our inferiors, right? Half of them aren't as bright as we think they are.
Mm-hmm.
So...
right.
All right. Well, Tori, I want to thank you so much. I love your articles. Keep writing. Never give up. Keep doing what you do. And, you know, the grassroots things, we got to get on it. We can't just
right.
sit at a keyboard and think that we've done our part. That's, you know, getting the information out is one thing. Now what to do with it? What do we do once we have it?
What do you do? Right. Because I'm seeing that since the election, the Republicans are useless. They're not doing anything like they said they were going to do. So that's it. I mean, that was the last, you know, straw. That I was counting on that, but now we have nobody to count on. So, and thank you for having me. And yeah,
Harry Reid's still acting
what?
like he's still acting like he's the Senate president. He's like acting like he's still running the show, and the Republicans are letting him. You know, he even started about this Loretta Lynch thing. He was flipping out at the GOP for a Lynch delay. He was saying that the Republicans are delaying the confirmation vote. He was the Senate president up until January 6th. He could have pushed that through at any time.
Right. And, you know, that's a good point, because he says that, and not one Republican has said, well, we have a problem with her. She is very good friends with Holder's wife. And if we're investigating Holder, we don't want somebody that is going to be that has a conflict of interest. That's the bottom line. That's all you have to say, and yet nobody is saying that. They have no balls. They're not doing anything.
Absolutely. All right, Tori, good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love this, and I'm glad my internet's still up.
I'm glad, too. And please, don't be a stranger around here. Just pick up the phone and call in anytime you have something to say. That's an open invitation, my friend.
Absolutely.
And good night to you.